Hello traders, Nick Shaheen here, looking at Tesla. A rare bad day. It has had them, but the buyers are definitely in charge of this stock overall. So it's a matter of buying the dip, right? But at what levels? It seems pretty random, but if you spend just a little bit of time to learn some basic skills of charting, you could, I can't say forecast the future, but you know what levels matter, and if they get crossed, what to expect next. So this is really the decision-making process. Is it a good time to buy the dip? Is it a good time to chase the rip? Do I expect sellers? Do I expect buyers? This information is available. As to if you ask me what's it going to do tomorrow, if I tell you what, I'll tell you get an 8-ball, shake it, and see what it says, because nobody knows what it's going to do tomorrow, but I can tell you with good confidence what the lines mean. And I'll show you. So I track this for my newsletters, and these are the lines I had for Tesla. I knew there was a battle between here and here at one point, and if the bulls would have the bears prevailed, and this would have been the downside I expected. And it not only was the downside that came, but in the matter I expected it. A dip, a fight for it, and then a let loose. It also, these lines I drew beforehand, you can dig through my emails and you'll find it. This was a level I expected to be meaningful, so there we are right there. If I were long Tesla, this is not where I would panic out. If I was looking to scalp Tesla into a swing trade of sorts, I would venture in, especially if I'm selling put spreads, because that allows me to create a buffer of sorts. It's an expensive stock, out of pocket, not judging its fundamentals, even though that's also correct. So it takes a lot of balls to actually just jump in big time, right? So small bites would be better. Using the options would be even better. By that I mean, yeah, sure, buying can work. Call spreads will probably be best. $10 wide. It's fairly liquid, so the quotes are good. Unlike some other stocks I was trying to trade today. Oh my gosh. So $10 wide, something that costs $3, then it's a chance to triple the money at least, thereabouts. And not a lot of money out of pocket. And it being a call spread would make a bad day less bad. Versus if I buy calls and they have another day like this one, the calls will be sliced 30%, if not more, overnight. So very few people don't get stopped out. The other way, which is my favorite, is to actually sell spreads below. So if I think that there's going to be another level of support, if I can find some risk and sell it down here, that would be my ideal way of doing it. If I wanted to buy shares outright, but am worried about another bad day, why not commit to buying them lower and get paid for it? This is what we call selling a put naked. Nobody should sell a put naked unless they want to own shares of that stock. You hear that? Nobody should sell puts naked unless they want to buy shares at that level from that stock. So if I sell a put, I'll collect a crap ton of money, but it's not the trade I'm after. It's the entry point into Tesla at 675 or 680, wherever I sell that put. I'm just using that as an example. I'm not going to give specific examples, because then people will say, oh, this was a trade alert. It's not. It's concept. How do I catch a falling knife? Now, statistically, it's not cheap. So value is not going to help you hold up. But who wants cheap when you're looking at a fast-growing company, right? So the total revenue was $11 billion in 2017. It's 32, running 12 months. So that's pretty amazing growth. Who cares about the net income, even though that also climbed to 700 mil from 2 billion wrong. And so I don't judge it based on cheap. It's expensive. I should just bite the bullet and not trade it as a value stock. Price to sales is the fair way of establishing relative value, and it's definitely too high relative to what it was before. Mind you, it got better. So is it that much better? Time will tell. Is it going to come back towards 20? Probably. That's what it should be. 20. What does this mean? Price to sales is the number of years that if I buy the shares today, I'm giving it credit for 27, 28 years worth of full year sales today. That's a lot. For absolute comparisons with another fast growing company, Amazon's is like this. 4.7, 4.6 price to sales. So I only give Amazon 5 years worth of credit, and I give Tesla 28. Sounds wonky. Tesla doesn't grow that much faster than Amazon. 1.2, so 1200 PE. So if you hear an analyst tell you, oh, the PE on, if they're talking Tesla and they mention PE, just shut the channel, change the channel, because it's a growth company. It's supposed to spend all it can in order to grow the top line, right? As long as it's growing the income, as long as it's growing its cash generating ability from operations, all this stuff is headed in the right way. The only thing that can break Tesla is Elon, because he's the one that made it. He's the one that can break it. This experiment with Bitcoin, I'm not a Bitcoin hater. You can watch my videos. I forecasted it going to 18 and new all-time high when it was in the single digits still. But I don't like companies that have nothing to do with financial trading do something like this. Hopefully he really wants to take Bitcoin as a form of payment, and I challenge that. I accept using Bitcoin for paying for stuff, but I store my wealth in a Bitcoin account, and then I use some sort of a card or app to switch it over to actual currency to pay for whatever I'm buying. In other words, it's like having a bank account. Instead of having it in cash, I have it in Bitcoin or gold for that matter. So imagine if I had a pile of gold stored somewhere, and that somewhere gives me an app that allows me to immediately on the spot pay for something in dollars by selling a piece of my gold in that account. This way, the fluctuation in Bitcoin doesn't affect the price of the thing I'm buying. Whereas if you price a car in Bitcoin, you're going to need an algorithm just to keep track of what is it now. Half a Bitcoin, it's 2 Bitcoins. So whereas, hey, whatever Bitcoin is, it doesn't matter. I own the Bitcoin. I can liquidate a piece of it to pay for the car. So I get that. But we don't know where he bought the Bitcoins. I don't. So he could have done a great trade. And if so, they just sell it and become a trading company. So it's really strange, but I don't knock him for doing it. He's doing a great job. So just do what's been working. Technically speaking, this is 2-hour chart. I don't think it's necessary to get any more granular than this one. So if you believe in some sort of Fibonacci extension, but where do you pick the rally? I mean, it's been on a tear. Let me see here. So would this be the base? I don't know. Any which way you slice it. Okay, so this is exactly 50% where it's at. Where it's on. If I consider that this was the rally to this is about halfway, almost exactly halfway. Rallies can give halfway and change nothing. These candles are still too thin. There's an open gap here and a whole bunch of open gaps. But when it comes down to it, the buyers will step in on Tesla. So I'm trying to get a little smarter. Don't make jokes. That's freaking impossible. No, here's a level. 718 could mean something. And clearly this one also means something. So 685, 718. But I'm comfortable enough to sell some risk down below here if the markets in general hold up. So that's a big if, right? I've been hesitant. These markets are way too high. I'm not shorting anything flat out. I did short banks. I did short oil, but recently. So those trades are still okay. But why is everything going so much higher than when we had idyllic conditions before COVID? We're still nowhere near recovered from COVID. We still have millions of people out of work. And the government's spending trillions to save the economy because it needs saving. So, okay, so last point on Tesla, who's in control of the price action? So, on the way up, every dip was bought. There were no dips. It went sideways. They're fighting for control. Now the big question mark, trust me, this is the only takeaway from this whole video. Who's in control of the action? Because that determines if the pops will be sold or not. And if so, then I would be in what I call an upticks mode. Don't fall for the upticks because they're going to draw you in and lock you in. Because the machines will automatically sell the pops and you'll be stuck. So avoid the upticks until you find a bottom. And the bottom happens, it's a process. you need to stop making lows. It's okay to make new lower highs, but not new lower lows. So, all right. So you want to see this hold. It's okay to make this, and then you come into a pinch and you start making higher lows and higher highs to establish a U. So that's how bounces should happen. Floors happen by making a U-shaped trough, right? So now you want to see if these pops are going to get sold systemically versus this pop. If they get sold and they still hold the line, then you have the risk of doing this technically or recover. So I am not calling which one is going to win, but I'm telling you what to expect. So when this happens, and if I'm not long here, I don't start long here. If I'm not long here, I don't start long here because I expect them to sell it. And then if I'm starting to short here, I'm jumping the gun. If I start to short, I want to see it break down and chase the short, or attempt to swing trade up with a tight stop if it's down. So that's how the trading with a plan happens. I have a plan, I see a floor, I want to swing it up. So I take a long, and if it's below that floor, I'm wrong. I should get out, win or lose. If it starts going up and I want to short it, I can short it here with a tight stop, meaning if it's above here, but in this case, it's not as hard a line as this one, so I wouldn't do that for me. Plus, I don't like to short stocks, and I am not short Tesla. I have an iron condor on it. It's out in time, and as long as, like, I can't remember the lines between here and here, I'm okay. So I'm not talking my book. All right, that's enough about Tesla. I'll do a NEO one in a little bit.